To the second episode of the Grumpy Gaming Weekend podcast. Today we're going to be talking about the Epic Store, because everyone's talking about it again. And as always, I have opinions. But today I am joined by my co-hosts. We have Autarkic, we have Blindside UK.
Hey.
And today our guest is Toddyson. How you doing, Toddy?
Hello, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm not too bad. I'm not too bad. You're another Valhalla's Most Wanted streamer, aren't you? We kind of,
I am.
You're involved in the community. We kind of poached two now from Valhalla's. I'm gonna have to find somebody different next week who's not part of that community. But why don't we do some introductions? Taylor, who are you? What are you doing here?
I'm Autarkic. What am I doing here?
Yeah, what are you doing here? Why are you here? Who invited you?
Explain yourself.
I'm here to offer a feminine opinion on things because, you know.
Oh wow, you're the token female. Okay, confirmed.
I'm the token female.
Brilliant.
No, I'm one of the best. No. Yeah, but I you asked me a weird question. I Twitch stream and I play lots of Dead by Daylight, and this week I've been playing Oxygen Not Included. So yeah, I mixed it up a bit this week.
Yeah, how have you been finding that? How have you been finding Oxygen Not Included?
Oh my god, I love it.
You love it?
Yeah, except for the fact that like it's so unforgiving. You die and you just lose like 4 hours of work.
Yeah, so I've never played it. I saw it when it came out. I saw some of the coverage of it, but I never played it. What kind of game would you classify it as? What are you kind of doing with it?
Like a strategy management game.
Yeah, so you kind of got like from what I've seen, you have the title says oxygen's not included. You have like the potential to lose oxygen and suffocate death, and you got to manage things like food as well.
Yeah, so you have a bunch of mechanisms you have to manage. So there's gases, so like obviously oxygen, and then there's also food, water, temperature, and germs. So like your whole base can get infected with germs and die. So there's a lot of like variables that you have to manage, and as you progress, it obviously gets more challenging. So
it gets more challenging. So you say no easy mode, or
that
was a callback.
Easy mode. There is an easy mode.
There is an easy mode.
So there's like your regular environment, and then they give you like a open environment. They have specific terms for it, but one I think you are susceptible to temperature changes, and the other one it's not so much. So you're not going to die from the temperature. Yeah.
Pretty cool. And you say you've been enjoying it. You like it?
Yeah, I've played it probably every day.
I've seen you playing quite a lot on the Discord. You see, you've been there.
Yeah, and not even streaming it. Like I'm playing it off stream too. Mm-hmm.
Which for content creators is kind of you can tell you're enjoying a game if you're playing it off stream, right? It's
yeah.
It's kind of hard to find the time. Blindside, who are you? What do you do? And what have you been playing this week?
I am Elliot, or Blindside UK. After last week where we talked about From Software games, another streamer that we all know, DJS, came into the Discord and said, like, you guys should actually try playing like the From Software games through a bit more, because you'll see they're not that difficult. And since then, I have streamed Bloodborne every day.
I've been watching.
I've been playing in Windows. I've been streaming for like 4 or 5 hours, and I've just been rinsing Bloodborne out. And I love it. I love it too much.
How many hours is there overall in that game?
I checked on, there's a website you can like see what the average time for beating games are. I think for the version I have, it's like 35 hours. So I've done about 20. I've beaten like 5 bosses, maybe 6 bosses.
I guess it all depends on how long you spend at each boss though as well, right? Because you can get stuck.
Oh, this is it.
7 times?
7 times. First boss in the game took me 7 attempts. He's called Father Gascoigne, and he's an asshole. And in the end, I just teased him. I hid behind graveyards and just threw Molotovs at him.
It's a valid strategy, right?
Well, to be fair, the Bloodborne community are like super like. I had a lot of people dropping in saying like, "Oh, you never see people anymore playing Bloodborne the first time through," so they were dropping in, and they were really good about not spoiling the story, not giving me too many tips, but like being helpful when I needed it. Also, making sure that I fall in every possible trap for maximum hilarity, because they just want to laugh at you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
I
they're
practiced
good
it
and they
watching
want you to
people
get
and
good,
it
right?
walk back to the wrong door.
Yeah, I did at one point walk to the complete wrong place. I defeated a boss that just led to a dead end, and I was like, okay, there's a door that I needed a password for, and I think I've got it. And I just ran the complete wrong direction, and there's how many people in my chat sat there going like, yeah, that's fine, keep running, and I just hit another dead end and was just like, where the fuck am I going? And in the end, someone was like, yeah, you just spent the last 15 minutes going the wrong way. And I was like, cool, cheers then.
I mean, to be fair, from what little I played of it, there's the sort of this like really closed off area at the start, which is almost like a tutorial area. And then once you open it up, it's very easy to get lost. There's loads of different ways you could go. Like I can't blame you for not knowing the exact way to go on your first run of a game like that, if I'm going to be honest.
Well, this is it. And also, I've gone in completely blind. I haven't looked up anything. I haven't looked up bosses, strats, builds, nothing. I'm just going purely off of instinct, basically, because I feel like that's the best way to experience these games with the high difficulty curves. So I'm going in not having any idea what's happening. But yeah, like I said, I'm really enjoying it.
In the spirit of last week, does it need an easy mode?
No, not at all. Every single enemy I've come across, even if I've been getting like beaten the crap out of, like eventually you work out. So like with the first boss, like there's an item you can go get that makes it like a bit easier. Apparently, I didn't bother with it. I didn't know it existed until after the boss.
Hang on. She said there's an item that makes it a little bit easier. You're saying?
Well, yeah, but I mean, that's like saying like, oh, so you can fight it with a weapon equipped. Like, yeah, you can.
This was my whole argument, though. This is my whole argument. This is just like an easy mode is just the next layer on top of that. You know, like you're saying, it's ways of playing the game, right? Ways of playing. You didn't choose to take the item that made it easier. That's your choice, right? And more choices is. We're not talking about this. This was last week's episode.
This is last week. We're not.
If you haven't heard our discussion about Souls-like games and difficulty modes and whether they should have one or not, go and check out last week's episode. I'll leave a link down there in the description box below. But you've been enjoying that though, right? You've been enjoying Bloodborne.
Yeah, I'm having a great time with it. I'm really, really enjoying it. The moment I beat the first boss after trying it 7 times, so like I've got a little counter on screen and stuff for how many times I die to each boss. The moment I beat it, like just the feeling of being like, this guy beat me 7 times and I've just turned around and beaten him. I also beat him on a visceral, which is where you parry and you basically punch your hand into their fist and you basically pull their insides out. So I beat him with like this huge move as well. I was just like, oh my god, I feel so good.
So
I've watched a lot of people play Souls games and stuff like that, and there's not a whole lot of direction. They just throw you in, teach you the buttons, and then they're like, all right, you walk around and figure it out.
Well, that's part of the difficulty curve, isn't it? They're no hand holding. They're designed to be miserable and very difficult, and I think that goes into part of that. But Toddy, who are you? Introduce yourself. You've not been on the podcast yet. Who are you? What do you do?
I'm Toddyson13. I stream on Twitch. You can find me on Twitter as well. But I don't know. I'm a variety gamer. I play a lot of different games. Just the other day, I played Pokemon just for haha because I hadn't streamed for a while. I wanted to stream.
Is that Pokemon Let's Go?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was just something easy I could put down if the kids woke up or something because my wife was working that night. But I wanted to stream, so I just threw on Pokemon, had a fun time.
It is a really fun game. I streamed Pokemon when it came out, and it's just fun. There's no tricks. There's no hidden monetization or whatever. It's just a fun Pokemon experience.
It is.
But yeah, no, I like that one too. So you say you're a variety streamer. You do all sorts of different games. You do Pokemon. Do you do anything else? What other kind of games do you usually play on stream?
Before that, I did a Legend of Zelda hack actually called Goddess of Wisdom.
A hack? You hacked the game?
I didn't hack it. Somebody else did. I just played
it. Which Legend of Zelda was that? The original one, or?
It was based off A Link to the Past.
Oh, that's my favorite one. I love A Link.
And the randomizer is always fun too. I did some of those for a while.
Yeah, I came across those. Another streamer was doing the randomizer. I didn't even know they existed. So if you don't know what the randomizers are, Link to the Past was an old game on the Super Nintendo And it's actually one of the first games I ever played as a child. And it's not really that long. It's quite a short experience, but people have done randomizers where the different bosses and the different items that you need to get through that game are in completely different places and different enemy types and stuff like that. They seem pretty cool, giving a really old game a little bit more life. But no, I'm gonna talk about myself now because it's my favorite topic. But obviously, if you're here, you know my YouTube channel. I'm the Grumpy Brit. I am a variety streamer as well. I stream all sorts of different things over on Twitch. What I have been streaming this week though is a little bit of World War Z, which is nicely fits into our topic of the day. But I've been playing World War Z, which is an Epic exclusive. It is based on the film, which came out a long time ago. I don't actually know when the Brad Pitt film came out, but it was a years ago that film came out.
A couple years.
Yeah.
But the main sort of gimmick in the TV show, in the movie, was these huge swarms of mindless zombies, and they're fast running zombies, if that matters to you. But the movie really showed them in like huge swarms that would climb up each other to get to you, and they'd be throwing themselves off of buildings. And the game came out. It came out this week, and I looked at it on the Epic Store, as it is an Epic Store.
April 16th, right?
Yeah. So it's literally just come out a few days ago, and I looked at it, and it was it's not a full price release. It's about £32 pounds sterling, and I thought, why not? Do you know what? I've not played a zombie game in a long time, and I thought, just give it a go. Just give it a go, see if it's any good. It might not be great, but I played it, and it's very, very similar to Left 4 Dead 2. It feels very similar. It almost feels like a spiritual successor to Left 4 Dead 2. Have you guys ever played Left 4 Dead? Any of you played Left 4 Dead at all?
Yes.
Very briefly.
You played it very briefly. You played it as well, Toddy. I've only played Left 4 Dead 2 a little bit. I didn't play it on launch. I played it a few years later, and I only played it a little bit. And even though I've only played Left 4 Dead 2 a little bit, this game feels very much like Left 4 Dead 2. However, the game does have some added extra little bits that Left 4 Dead I didn't think had. So World War Z has these things like defense mechanics that you have. You can put down traps, you can put down turrets, you can put down barbed wire. And on top of that, the swarm mechanic from the movie is really, really captured in the game in a really, really good way. I was noticing that on screen there was hundreds of zombies all at once, and they were doing the same things in the films. They were forming, I guess would you call them human pyramids if they're zombies? Zombie pyramids.
Well, they were. I remember like watching in your stream. You had one scene where there's like a mall, and they just climb up each other to get over like this big barrier in the mall, and I was. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's something that that was the first level of the game. But yeah, it's really interesting that they do that, and they really do throw themselves at you. It does have different zombie types. It's not just generic zombies. They have different ones, but they are basically all copied from Left 4 Dead. You have a big guy that runs at you and charges at you. You've got one guy that will hide around corners and jump on you. You've got one that's sort of like a hazmat suit that will release gas when you shoot them. All kind of very generic and very similar to Left 4 Dead 2 stuff. And I'm not gonna lie, like it didn't bother me. It didn't bother me that this game was very similar to another game, especially considering we haven't had any zombie games for a while, or not any really like noticeable zombie games for a while. Because for a long time,
would you say that it was like an improved version, or like how did it vary?
Well, I haven't played enough yet to say if it was better or worse. It does have a multiplayer mode, which I don't believe Left 4 Dead 2 had, or if it did, it wasn't quite as fleshed out as this one. It has a PvP multiplayer mode, so it's you versus another team of 4. The mode that I played, it's 2 teams of 4 that fight against each other, but then it also has the zombies in it as well, and there's parts of the match where huge swarms will run into the map and start attacking, and you can kind of use that to your advantage if you're smart. So obviously, you're panicking because loads of zombies are coming at you, but if you're kind of quiet and sneaky and stealthy, and especially if you start shooting at the enemies, like you can kind of direct the swarms to the enemies and kind of overwhelm them, which is kind of neat. But it's pretty good. I've kind of enjoyed it. Now, I was streaming it the other day, and one of my viewers who's a lot further ahead in the game than I am, saying that he started to run into a few sort of design problems with some of the maps having sort of issues, especially with the AI. There is an AI offline mode as well, which is really interesting in 2019. So you can actually play, not the multiplayer mode, obviously, but you can play the campaign with 3 AI teammates. So you don't actually have to play this game online. You can play it offline with AI, which is kind of interesting to see in 2019. Not a lot of these kind of, especially in the live service model games, and not a lot of games come out with with offline modes, especially this game that could have got away with it without it. This game could have easily said, no, we don't want an offline.
How
We don't want
awful
Right.
is the AI though? Because I've played co-op games where like you get AI like companions, and they are just like they're like running into walls and doing
Yeah.
nothing.
They're all right. They're all right. They're passable. They're serviceable. They will rescue you if you're downed by an enemy. They will come and pick you up. They will. If you get there's one that jumps on top of you. There's a zombie. I think it's called a lurker or something like that. If that jumps on top of you, they will come back and shoot it. But I think from looking at some of the YouTube coverage of it, there are times where they will, for example, get stuck behind a door that's locked, and you've got to wait for them to sort of teleport through and stuff like that. But I haven't run into that myself yet. I haven't personally seen it, but I also haven't finished the campaign. I've only played halfway through. But no, they're definitely passable. They're not the worst
cannon
AI I've
fodder.
seen. Yeah.
They're there to sponge bullets for you, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
Just like human teammates.
Well, it depends what game you're playing, I guess. Dead by Daylight, right? Dead by Daylight. That's how we play
Just
it.
sandbag them. It's fine.
Left 4 Dead 2 did have a multiplayer.
So it did have a multiplayer. So was that
Yep.
competitive PvP multiplayer or?
Well, there was a PvP.
No, it was
multiplayer in Left 4
co-op
Dead.
story.
No,
I think
okay,
there
so
was-
that's what I'm talking about. So this has that, it has the co-op, but it also has a PvP multiplayer mode. So
I think
kind
Left
of
4 Dead
similar to
2
Call
had
of
a
Duty.
way that you could play the zombies. I might be thinking of a different game.
No, it did. I think you're right. It did have a mode where you could play as the zombies, which this game doesn't have that. But this game does have, like I say, more of a standard sort of PvP. You got like King of the Hill, teams. I think it's called Swarm Deathmatch is the one that I've been playing mostly. But you got things like King of the Hill, those kind of traditional sort of shooter PvP multiplayer modes, and they're all right. They're not bad. They're not the biggest, greatest multiplayer mode. They're not like Call of Duty level. But the game isn't a full price release either. It is, again, £32. I'm gonna guess it's probably about $40. So you're kind of getting what you pay for, I guess. But no, I've been really enjoying it. It's a nice little distraction from a lot of the recent games that have come out that haven't been good at all. Let's be honest.
Haven't been good.
Well, there's been a few. I'm not going to name any names of them, but there's been a fair few games come out recently that have just been real disappointments. And so to have a game that I had no hype for this one. Like, I really didn't care less about it until I saw it release, and then I was like, we'll give it a go. If it's rubbish, it's rubbish. And it actually wasn't. It wasn't rubbish. It's not the greatest game of all time.
You didn't end up playing Anthem, right?
No, I didn't play Anthem in the end, because I have a real knack for knowing what games I'm going to enjoy, and what games I'm not going to enjoy. And I don't listen to marketing anymore. And when I saw gameplay of Anthem on YouTube, I looked at it and was like, no, I'm not going to enjoy this game. It looked like Destiny, but more boring. Like the flight of Anthem and everything like that looked great. It looked really interesting, but that kind of stuff can only keep me entertained for a little while before I'm like, well, what's the point of the game? And since we brought up Anthem, Anthem is not doing well. Anthem has lost. People are estimating it's lost about half of its player base, which I don't think was massive anyway. I don't think Anthem's launch player base was huge to begin with. But no, I have literally no interest in these live service model games that are coming out half-baked, half-finished with roadmaps to success that last 2 years. I'm like, well, I might play it in 2 years when it's 20 quid, but I'm not going to play it now. But this World War Z being an Epic exclusive kind of nicely rounds us into today's topic, which is Epic Store exclusivity. Odd to say that, I thought. But there's been a lot of talk and debate and controversy and a lot of angry people recently about Epic Store. If you don't know what Epic Store is, it's a platform. Obviously, Epic publish Fortnite. That's their flagship game, and recently they came up with a store. So they have the store where now you have to log into the store to get. Did you always have to log in to Epic Launcher to do Fortnite? I don't know. I don't really.
Yes.
I think you did.
So you did. So you always had to use the launcher for Fortnite. But
Yes.
now they've started to sell other games on the Epic Store, and it's caused a little bit of controversy because people are not happy with exclusivity on PC. But we're going to get into it. I, as always, have kind of mixed opinions on it. But what do you guys think about the anger? There's a lot of people who are very angry about games coming out and being exclusive to Epic Store and not being released on Steam. And by the way, we're coming for Steam. I'm coming for Steam. But Steam is going to be talked about in this whole thing too, because it's not all just about Epic. Steam has a big part to play, I think, in this discussion. What do you guys think? Blind, what do you think about Epic Store exclusives? Are you for them? Are you against them? Do you hate them? Do you not care?
I'm going to open myself up to hella hate, and I'm going to say, I reckon a lot of the people who are angry about it are just classic, like, I don't like change, and I think that's really what they're fussed with. Like, a lot of the arguments I've seen against, like, Epic exclusivity is basically, I've seen so many people just being like, oh, why do I have to get another launcher and have different login details? And, like, dude, it's the internet. We have 100 different websites that we log into all over the place. It's not a fuss. You're gonna be fine. You're gonna get through it.
Yeah.
So I think it's a lot of like very hyped anger that realistically, like when it comes around, I think it's going to be shown for. It's not going to be that big a deal. I really don't think it is.
Well, I think this topic has come up a few times. It's come up with things like Uplay and Origin, but it's never been this contentious. It's never been this contentious, and I think you're right. I think a lot of it is people just don't want to change. They don't want to have to log in between, and I can understand that. You know, I have 400 games on my Steam library because I've been on that platform for 10 years. You know, 10 years worth of collecting games, and yeah, it is a little bit annoying. It is a mild inconvenience to have to log into another launcher to go and play a different game. And I think what a lot of people are upset about is, for example, if you have your friends who buy a game and they're playing on Steam, you know, and or if your friends are playing different games and they're on Steam, well, you can't chat to them and stuff while you're on Epic. So it's kind of, you know, there's more to it than just, I think it's resistant to change. I think you're right. For some people just don't like it, but I think there is more to it than that. But
well, there's like a lot of like people are upset about the exclusivity because they don't offer as many services as Steam does, which is like obviously expected because they're not nearly as old. Well, not anywhere near as old. I don't know why I said nearly, because it's not anywhere near. But so like you can't do any sort of like dedicated forums or reviews or anything like that on Epic yet. So you can't share with your family. You can't like share, like how you said, like through different types of services. So it really like limits you, and then you're forced to pay for the game through a service that's ultimately offering you less for the same price. Well, you would assume the same price because you wouldn't know because it's not offered on both. But yeah, like so you're losing out on a lot and you're being forced to lose out. So I think people are upset about that as well.
Absolutely. When it comes to features, there are a lot of features missing from the Epic Store. Just looking at this list right now, I mean, cloud saves, user profiles, reviews, forums, mods, groups, item trading, which, come on, no one gets about the item trading. Things like that. Broadcasting, another one. No one really, I don't think anyone really about Steam's live platform that they keep trying to push, but there are a lot of features in there that are missing for a store. But like we've just said, you know, this Epic Store's only been out for a little while. It's got plenty of time to add those features and improve. On the other hand of that, I will admit I am very much a person that's like, well, if I'm going to buy a product, I want it to be done now, not later. I say this about video games all the time. I don't want roadmaps. I don't want DLC to fix my games. I want my game to be complete now. And so I absolutely agree. I think that the store should have come out with more features than it has, especially reviews. As somebody who, you know, I like to critique games and I like to try and make informed decisions, and not having reviews is a big one for me because I'm like, well, at least with Steam, you know, it has its review system and it's not perfect. It's by far not perfect. A good example of Steam's review system not being perfect is a game like Detention, which, if you don't know what Detention is, Detention was made by the same people who made Devotion, which got pulled from Steam because of a controversy. And people went back and review bombed Detention because they didn't like what Devotion did. Even though the games were completely separate, they were just made by the same developers. So one game got unfairly reviewed massively. We're talking thousands of negative reviews because of a controversy. But on at least, you know, at least Steam has that feature, and that's something that's very pro-consumer, being able to see people's opinions of the game that they bought. Especially I really like with Steam's, it tells you how long somebody played a game for. So if somebody goes, I hated the game, and they've got 10 minutes played, you know, they'd probably, you know, don't listen to that review. But things like this that probably should have been in you know, the Epic Store on
I'm sure that's something that'll be added in.
Yeah, of course. This is something that a lot of people who,
it's not that hard to find a review either if you really want to look that hard.
True.
I mean, there's always going to be someone, whether it's going to be on Reddit or, you know, if you just word of mouth from other people.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, YouTube is probably your best place to go. And if the game is already out, why not head over to Twitch? You know, find somebody. One of the things I love about Twitch is that you want a review. The best thing you can do is go and see somebody playing it live, because you can't fake that. You can't, if you're hating it. You know, if the game is boring and buggy and broken, Fallout 76, you can't fake that. And you know, we see this happen all the time with this fantastic marketing comes out for these games. Again, Fallout 76, and then the game actually comes out to the Twitch audience and the YouTube audience, and everyone hates it because it looks awful. So you're absolutely right. You can get you know, it's not hard to find a review for a game now, but at the same time, having that on the store that you're buying the game is always going to be very useful. If you're sat there and the buy me now button is right there, and all you got to do is scroll down the page and you see overwhelmingly negative or overwhelmingly positive. I mean, I've never in my life bought a game on Steam that was overwhelmingly positive and gone, this was a bad game. So for me, you know, the system, it works to a degree. So
oh no, I get that, and I'm sure there's gonna be enough feedback about that they'll eventually add in some kind of review system.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There's been actually, we're talking about the review system, there's been some people who are starting to theorize now, because I think something was said about developers being able to turn reviews off on Epic, and I don't know if this is confirmed or hearsay, but some people are speculating that certain developers will not allow reviews for their games, which would be a mistake, in my honest
Yes.
opinion. A
Is
huge
this
mistake.
Epic or Steam?
Epic. Yeah,
Okay.
Steam, you've got no chance. Your user reviews are absolutely okay on Steam. There's no way of turning those off. The only way to do that is to delete your game, and people aren't going to do that. Which people used to do that on Steam. They used to remove their game and re-upload it, especially these asset flip games. You know, ones that were very easily replicable. They used to do that. They used to move it, and I think Steam cracked down on that. But yeah, I think a lot of people are more annoyed because it's Epic. I'm gonna be honest. I think there's a lot of Fortnite haters out there, and I think a lot of
Well,
these people.
I came across an article about Borderlands 3 and how it's supposed
Mhm.
to come out exclusively on Epic in September, and people have gone now to Steam and downvoted,
Yeah. We
poor
get
rated,
what you're saying.
poor rated, yeah, over there, and like ruined the reviews on the game over, like, for an older game just over on Steam, because they're upset about what's happening. And you see that even with the game that you played, Detention, where people like will have some sort of political motivation and go and ruin a review. So it's interesting that
Absolutely.
people care that much.
Borderlands is only 6 months though.
Yeah, so it's a timed exclusive.
It's exclusive for 6 months, and then it's going to be
it'll
on Steam after
Which,
that.
to be
Right.
fair, though, let's be honest, most people want to buy games on day one. Most people want to buy games as soon as they can get their hands on it. They don't want to wait 6 months, because after 6 months, the hype has died down. Their friends might not be playing it anymore, you know, so they've already seen it all on YouTube because it's kind of lost its hype. It's lost its. It's very interesting with games. The first couple of days are like your most impactful. Like your first, I think it's the first 48 hours of game sales are like really you know, crucial to, and especially your first week is very crucial to how well your game is going to do, especially now in the age of Twitch and YouTube where everyone's streaming it and stuff like that. But yeah, I think the timed exclusivity is not necessarily a good enough excuse either. You know, I think having 6 months to wait, I mean, I wouldn't wait 6 months to play a game. Let's be honest. I don't know about you guys. If I wanted to play a game, I'm not waiting 6 months for it.
No, that's going to be a mess, just like you talked about, where if, you know, one of your friends gets it day one, but you can't, and then you buy it later, you know, he's going to have it for Epic. Do you buy it for Epic, or do you buy it for Steam, or do you not know and just buy it for Steam, and then all of a sudden your friend's playing on Epic and you're playing on Steam?
Mm-hmm.
You know, are you still going to be able to get together and play? It'll be interesting on how they're going to handle that.
Yeah, which we have had cross platform, I guess, cross launcher. We have had cross launcher play before with certain games. So I think that's something that if they haven't already looked into, they definitely should look into. Because you bring up a really good point, Toddy, is that if I buy it on Epic and you buy it on Steam, if we can't play together, then our overall experiences is going to be worse than it would have been if it was all on one platform. And the thing with that is I think most people want it on Steam because Steam is the biggest platform and most people have most of their games on Steam. It is the biggest platform. It has been for many years now. Steam is the place to go to. And again, I have 400 games on my Steam library. That's not a brag. That's just most of them are crap I got from Humble Bundle, let's be honest. But the fact is the majority of my games are on Steam. But I think what a lot of people aren't talking about, and this is the reason why I actually wanted this to be our topic of the day. What I think a lot of people aren't talking about when it comes to this Epic Store exclusivity and this Epic Store controversy is that I think Steam has a lot of a lot of culpability for it. I think Steam caused it in a lot of ways. And the reason why I say that, and this is just my own opinion, but the reason why I say that is because Steam for years has been a really lazy platform. Steam being the biggest, being the top dog, being the place where everybody went to get their games, they got very, very lazy. And I could give you an essay, I could talk all day about the failures of Steam. And this is not because I hate Steam, right? Before I start ragging on them, don't think that I hate Steam. I've been on there for 10 years. But Steam has so many flaws that I'm surprised it took it this long for another store to, give it some competition. What I'm talking about is things like curation, and there's no curation on Steam. So a lot of people get really angry about this when you talk about it because they think that curation is some form of censorship. But basically, any game can get on Steam. Essentially, any game can get on Steam, and I'm not going to say the name of the game because it's gonna.
I know
it's
the
gonna.
one you're talking about.
You know which one? Anyone in the chat will know what
monetized.
game I'm talking about. Yeah, this. Well, I don't get monetization anyway, but I still don't want my. I don't want it to affect the channel. But there was a game that came out recently on Steam that was not only very, very controversial. The title alone was honestly not even safe for work. It was a very controversial game that got released on Steam, and everyone was asking how did that happen? And the frank answer is Steam has no curation. They allow games on their platform that don't have executable files. Jim Sterling has made tons of videos in the past about games that have come out on Steam that physically don't work. They don't have an executable file. If you don't know what that is, an executable file is required for any video game to run. If you don't have that file, the game won't run. And so games have been launched on that store for sale, for money, that physically don't work. And Jim and other people have complained, and I'm with them on this one, is how can you expect developers to want to come to your platform and sell their game that they worked on for years, they worked on so hard, they put hours in, and let's be honest, like thousands of dollars into, and then expect them to sell it alongside these controversial, stupid games and games that don't work. And these games are coming out in the thousands. Steam every year sells more games than it did the last year. Like it's getting worse every year. And so if you couple that, so these developers that are competing with all of these other games, on top of that, Steam are charging a lot of money to get on their platform. They are charging the highest out of any of the launchers, I believe. So they are charging the developers more money per sale than Epic is. So you've got these two factors, and on top of that, Steam has other problems, just little ones off the top of my head, like you can't sort your library via the tag system. So games have tags like horror or first person shooter or puzzle, and you can't sort through your library with those tags. So many little inconveniences. I think it's no wonder that, we've got to this point where they now have competition. What do you guys think about that?
I mean, competition is always the best for a consumer, I would say, because they have to innovate. They have to be better than the competitor. They have to offer better services. They have to do all sorts of things to be able to keep their fan base or their consumer base. So for all the issues that you've kind of just outlined, let's say Epic can meet all those demands, then people are going to slowly go somewhere else, because if you're not getting what you want or what you're paying for it, because games are not cheap. So you should be getting what you want. They should be hearing these types of demands, and if they're not hearing them from their consumers, then maybe a competitor will make them open their eyes.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think if you're now, Steam are now having competition, if they see that their customers are starting to go to Epic, and a lot of people, especially on YouTube, are convinced that nobody's going to Epic. I think they're wrong. I think a lot of people are going to Epic.
That's naive. I mean, obviously you hear a lot of complaints and stuff, but for years Steam have had a monopoly on this. They have been obviously you have Origin and Uplay, but Origin is only releasing EA games, and Uplay is only Ubisoft games. And even for Rainbow Six Siege, I bought my Rainbow Six on Steam. It launches from my Steam through my Uplay as a background run through. That basically just goes, oh, you've got a CD key, that's fine, on you go. there is no competition for Steam, and there hasn't been for years. And like people forget when Steam came out at first, everyone was like, "Why would I want all my games in one place when I can just?" Obviously, this was like when I can just install them from the CD-ROM, and
Yeah.
and then Steam came along and like, "Oh, what if we just do it all digitally and you can have it as downloads?" Because obviously, this was around the time that like internet speeds were getting faster. And everyone at the time was just like, "I don't get it, and I don't like it. Why should this one company have all this stuff?"
Well, the argument
and
back
then-
when though was that you don't own the game anymore. So when you buy a game on Steam,
Yeah.
a lot of people think you own that game. You don't. If Steam bans your account, you can't access any of those games. A lot of people forget that. Again, if I was to ban now all of my games on Steam, I wouldn't be able to access them because they don't belong to me. They belong to Steam still. I'm just basically renting them, if you will. And at any moment, those could be taken away. And that was the big because again, Steam had pushback. People used to push back against Steam years ago, and that was the main reason to that. Sorry, carry on. I just completely spoke over you.
That's fine. So yeah, I think like the thing that people are forgetting is like everyone is now so comfortable with Steam, and we kind of sit there and obviously you've listed off like a load of complaints and stuff, but like why would they fix it? Why spend the money fixing a load of issues that you have if people don't have a choice? They have to buy games through you. They have to play their games through you. I mean, Steam haven't gone like any. I'm no. To be fair, I'll take it back because I was about to go like slippery slope of like, oh, if you talk out against Steam and they decide they don't like you and ban you, but it won't happen.
No,
they won't do that.
They're not going to do
I was about to get real slippery slope. Imagine the dystopian future where Steam is running the government because otherwise you lose your library.
I don't like your beard. Banned.
Well,
Banned.
I didn't
Banned.
necessarily mean for like this moment, but I meant just like in the future, like if they start offering things like they're saying they're like Epic saying they're going to develop, blah, 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 like they're offering like an alternative. And sometimes if the alternative like grass is greener on the other side kind of thing, like you'll leave. Not necessarily meaning like it's going to be better, but it might appear to be. So like it's really like there's now like another option, like not saying it's the best option at the moment, but there's a potential for the future.
I honestly, I totally agree with you. What people who are loyal to Steam need to realize that this is going to be good for them in the long run. So yeah, it sucks right now. You're getting these epic, exclusives that you can't get right now. And I agree with that. I don't like that. I'm not a fan of exclusives, by the way. I'm not going to support that. I mean, they're a fact of video games. We've got console exclusives. We've had those for years. I don't like those either. I've always said I would rather that every game came out on every platform it can, because that means more people get to buy it, more people get to play it, and you as a consumer are happier. So I'm always going to be anti-exclusives. But at the same time, I absolutely agree with you, Taylor. If you think about it logically, now that Steam has a competitor, now they're going to start to get worried. Because let's be honest, what does Steam care about? They care about money, right? They want as much money as possible, right? Let's be honest, that's what they want. As their business, that's fine. They want money. They're going to look at Epic and go, we're losing sales to Epic. Why are we losing sales to Epic? And what can we do to gain those sales back? And what is the best thing that you can do to gain sales back? Make your platform the best platform it could ever be. And they haven't been doing this, as you said, Elliot. They haven't been doing this for so long because they hadn't needed to, because they had no competition. They're like, well, where else are you going to go? You don't like Steam? Or good job playing games then. But now that they have competition, they're going to have to start looking at things like, well, maybe we should start curating our platform. Maybe we should start, making our user experience a little bit better. Maybe we need to give people who are loyal to Epic a reason to come to Steam. And I think that if they're a smart company, which, come on, I'm sure they are, I say that when's Half-Life 3? If they're a smart company, I'm sure that they're now going to start looking to ways to improve their service. And I think that's going to be good for you as the consumer.
I think especially now that they're losing AAA games.
Yeah.
They lost Division 2, which, is a Ubisoft game, which is a huge thing. So if Ubisoft starts moving all of their games, Rainbow Six and Ghost Recon and stuff like that, that's going to be a big hit to them. They lost Borderlands for the first 6 months, which are the most important months for a game launch. They lost a lot of money right there because, a lot of people are going to be buying Borderlands 3.
Yeah.
So they're starting to lose major games now. It's not all these little indie games that they don't care about, that they weren't going to make a lot of money on.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And
I think I read an article earlier that Detroit Becomes Human is going to be a Epic exclusive too.
Is it? I mean, I didn't even know that was coming to PC.
No, me neither.
I will definitely play it if it does.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I did a Google of Epic exclusives, and it said it was it said it was coming. I don't know, internet, who knows?
Well,
but
yeah, yeah,
it
absolutely.
was on the list. So
I mean, I wouldn't mind it coming to PC. Again, I would always prefer a game like Detroit that was already a PlayStation exclusive. I would always prefer it came to both platforms. But from a business standpoint, I cannot blame developers from wanting to be on a, let's be honest, a cleaner, less competitive, and also a store that charges them less. There's something that a lot of people don't seem to want to acknowledge, is that Epic are charging these developers much less. And yeah, they might not have the same, they might not have the same huge audience that Steam does, but come on, they have a lot of Fortnite players. Fortnite is still pretty much the most popular game in certain age demographics at the moment. It's still Fortnite has absolutely risen back up above Apex Legends, which a lot of people said it wasn't going to. I said it would. But Fortnite is hugely popular and it makes Epic a lot of money, and they've got a lot of players on there that might then start shopping on store. So from a developer standpoint, I can't blame people for not wanting to be sold on a store that puts stuff that doesn't work out and charges you a fortune for it.
Well, even from the dev angle, there's a knock-on effect down to us. I mean, gamers for probably the last year and a half to 2 years have been going back and forth with devs saying games are getting more expensive, and devs have been coming back saying games are getting more expensive to make, and a lot of this back and forth and stuff. So devs being able to go to a platform where, say, they sell an exclusivity deal and they make more money off of that, and also they're on a platform where they get more of a cut from their sales. If devs are getting more money from the back end that isn't affecting us directly, then the fact that games are coming out at 50, 60 quid, or whatever they're coming out in American or Canadian, that people have been complaining about for so long, we might see a solution to that now of having less cuts coming out of devs' wallets, which obviously I'm all for, because I want devs to make money off their games so that they make more games. And then I get to play more stuff.
I mean, this is a topic, a whole other topic, probably for another day. I mean, the whole argument that, it's getting more expensive to make games, I'm going to come right back at you now, Elliot, and say Blizzard made more money than they ever did last year, and yet they're laying off staff and they're cancelling a lot of games. I think this notion that it's getting more expensive to make games is a load of tosh. I think it's another excuse that the industry is
I mean,
trying to
honestly,
hide
if you look at it, games have been $50-$60 since Nintendo. I mean, you go back to the original NES and you go to, Toys R Us or KB Toys. I don't know what you guys have over there.
We had Toys R Us. They went.
We had.
It's
gone now.
Yeah.
NES games were still, $50-$60 back in the day. So to still be $60 now where we are today,
I will argue they're not $60 anymore. I'm gonna be honest, they're not $60. I agree with you. The base price of a game is $60, but back when you used to pay $60 for a game, like you said on the NES or something like that, you're buying the entire experience. Now $60 is basically like a starter pack. You get the base game, but then you've got to get the DLC later. You got to get the season pass.
Oh yeah, I know. But
all of
they
those
could still easily make just the base retail more than $60.
Well, one of the it's an interesting point you bring up, Toddy, because one of the things is some people have come out, I'm not going to name any names, but certain executives from video game companies have come out and said we would raise the price, we would raise the base price from 60, but they don't do it because they fear the backlash. They know they're going to lose sales because people are like, well, I can't afford $100 for a video game. But here's the trick, and here's what a lot of people need to realize, is that if you put the price up to $100 and somebody goes, I'm not buying that because it's too expensive, but then if they buy it at 60 and then they spend $40 on microtransactions, they've still spent the same amount of money. And my argument is that now, with the way that they carve up the content and they separate it, and especially games and things like loot boxes where you can never get what you want, you've got to go through gambling and all that, is that it's way more expensive now than $60. We just don't realize it because we don't realize the money that we're spending because we're spending it in chunks. It's almost like a payment plan, It's like where you buy half now and you can buy half later. It's kind of a trick. Games don't cost $60 anymore. I agree with a lot of people who say that they're not 60. They haven't really been 60 in a long time. But I mean, that is something that we're kind of having to, you're talking earlier about being resistant to change. That's something that we're all kind of having to just learn to live with, because it doesn't seem to be going anywhere, does it? It doesn't seem to be going anywhere. You buy half a game now and you buy half a game when it's finished. Fallout 76. How many times can I get snarky about
On
Fallout
this week's
76?
episode, Grumpy complains about all the games.
Well, this is why I'm called the Grumpy Brit and not the overly happy Brit.
The
but no,
cheery Brit.
the cheery Brit. No, it doesn't have the same ring to it, does it?
The pessimist Brit.
Pessimist Brit. Too many character limit. I wouldn't even get that on Twitter.
I know. No.
But no, I think. Sorry.
I'm desperately trying to think of games I've bought over the last couple of years that have come out complete, and I don't think there are any. I was going to come back and be like, oh, what about this? I can't think of a single game.
Nintendo games are better.
Yeah, Nintendo, but Nintendo, like, their games don't depreciate at all. You buy a secondhand Nintendo game from 3 years ago, and it's still full price. It's weird.
Yeah.
Pokemon.
That's their...
Yeah, Pokemon.
Pokemon and Zelda never go down in price.
I was trying to find, I think it was one of the old Zeldas where they did the remakes on the 3DS, and I found one, and it's like 40 quid for a really old game on an old platform on a handheld.
But you try to buy a second generation Pokemon game, and it's still 30, 40.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. But the thing is, people will buy them. Like, people
exactly.
will buy that.
Exactly. I was going to say that's the whole point. It's supply and demand, isn't it? If they know people will pay it, they'll charge that, and that's, I think, why they won't increase video games from $60, is because $60 is almost this sort of holy grail of price. That's like the maximum you're allowed to charge. I think if you're increasing the price any more than 60, you've got to be including something with it. There's got to be a collector's edition or something like that. We're going back to the topic at hand. I think Epic has a long way to go if they really want to be a competitor to Steam. I don't think at the moment, I don't think they are a true competitor. I think they have the potential to be. I think they have the potential to be a competitor to Steam if they, continue to improve their service, add on extra features that people need and want, listen to their customers, which is another thing that I think that Epic has a real opportunity here, is if they listen to their customers, because Steam do not listen to their customers, and they haven't listened to their customers for a long time. There's been so many things that we've been asking for, again, especially things like curation, that, we don't want to be trawling through all these rubbish games to find the game that we want. And Steam don't seem to listen. People have been begging for them to develop some sequels to their games for years. They don't seem to want to listen to that either. Where's Half-Life 3? Also Portal 3. Where's Portal 3? Give me Portal.
Half-Life 3.
I'm actually that bothered. I'm going to be honest. If you don't want to make a game, don't make a game. Don't make it for the sake of it, because then it'll turn out awful. Anthem. Okay, I've got to stop. I've got to stop. I've got to stop. I'm gonna get flagged or something on YouTube for being too much. But
so why don't you list your games you do like? What are you happy with right now?
You want me to list games that I do like? Well, it's funny actually. Yeah. I was gonna do last Christmas. I was gonna do some like top 10 lists and stuff. I didn't end up doing them, but I was gonna do some sort of top 10 lists. And most of the games that I'm really enjoying recently have been Nintendo based, which is crazy for me, because I was not a Wii player. I was not a Wii U player. I didn't have any interest in those consoles. I bought my Switch, and yeah, I love Zelda. Zelda was fantastic. Pokemon Let's Go, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a fantastic callback to Pokemon Yellow. I thought it was just a fun game. I recently bought Super Mario, the new one on Switch.
Odyssey?
No,
Odyssey.
Not Odyssey. It was a Super Mario. I think it's called Super Mario U. I think it was a port from the Wii.
Oh, is it the new Super Mario or whatever?
Yeah.
Wii U one.
It's got like multiplayer Super Mario, which is crazy.
Yeah, I know the one you mean, because it's super frustrating. I played it with friends.
It's harder with friends. It's like one of the few games that is harder with friends, because they can screw you over.
You can literally pick up your teammates and throw them off ledges.
Yeah. And I played it with my nephew, and my nephew's only like 8, and I played it with him. And when he found out that you could do that, I basically was like, okay, if you're going to continue doing this, I'm going to tell your mother. And then he stopped. But no,
I'm telling on you.
I have to tell on him. He won't listen to me. But no, I enjoyed World War Z. World War Z was not bad. I've not fully played it yet, but that was pretty good. I just enjoy games that are, complete experiences, and that don't demand that I buy more things every 5 minutes. I don't like loot boxes, and I don't like games that chop up content that should have been in the base game and then try and sell it to me later, because I don't have the money. I'm poor. I don't have the money to spend. It's true. If I pay $60 on a game, that's like a big purchase for me. There's been games that I missed this year. I missed Red Dead. I missed luckily Fallout 76. Anthem. All of these games that I probably would have bought, to be honest, just so I can give my opinions on them. and I haven't been able to. And so if a game, I pay $60 for a game, and then they want me to spend even more money, sorry, I don't have it.
See, I had mixed feelings about Anthem, so I didn't buy it. I actually did the Origin Premiere or whatever it was called.
Is that
for $15 for the month or whatever?
Right,
and then I got to play Origin for the month. Yeah. And then I got to play Anthem for the month for $15 instead of, dropping the $60 plus tax and everything else, and
that's
getting
a
game that
that's a
I didn't
really
really
interesting
like.
point, because I feel like a lot of these live service games are trying to go for those kind of models now, because they're like, well, we're going to be fixing the game for the next 2 years. How do we get people in? Well, like you say, get them in cheaper. A lower price to entry will get more people in, and if they are still playing in a year, buying DLC, buying expansions, buying microtransactions, then we're still going to make our money. But I think a lot of people are not falling for it anymore. I think a lot of people, a lot of people say that there's a lot of hate going around at the moment for video games, but I think it's a lot of people are just sick of it. And that is a topic for another day, live service models, because honestly, I could write an essay on live service models and how they need to die and get out. Everyone used to complain about zombies.
You can't write an essay on?
No, I can. I'm pretty good at writing essays.
He likes the essays.
Yeah, I'm like writing all this down like that.
You should start a blog.
Well, I should.
The rantings of the grumpy Brit.
In my spare time. Do you know, I actually thought about starting a blog not that long ago. If I have time, who knows?
Dude, who's reading blogs? It's 2019.
Yeah, it's all about the vlogs now.
It's a podcast. Just come and watch podcasts.
Also, podcasts. If
you are, you don't have to read.
If you're still watching this, if you made it this long through the video, good job. Good job. That's all.
You've nailed it.
Yeah, you're doing well. You're learning. But does anyone else have anything they want to talk about Epic? Because we do have another topic lined up. I've got something else that I want to talk about with you guys. Anyone else want any more points on Epic that we missed?
I mean, the only thing I really wanted to touch on, you did briefly get to, was like the prospectively what Epic could be.
Yeah.
Not just because obviously I've already said about like having competition will force Steam to make changes, but everyone's so ready to shit on the Epic Store and not really give it a chance. Whereas realistically, if you think about it, it could be something that ends up being better than Steam.
Yeah. And
say in a year's time, we're all looking back on the conversation at the moment and going like, why were we so against this? Because it could bring in things like user reviews, but also be a curated library where obviously like Steam does a Steam sale and you go like, oh, I'll just look at all the games in the sale, sort by price, and you have to sift through a dozen pages of £1.50 games that are all shite.
Yeah.
And like no one wants to play them.
Yeah, no, they are obscure games you've never heard of, you don't really want to hear of. And
like Epic could be something epic. It could be something that is it could be something that's like really good, and this is why I'm sat on like a watch this space. I'm not gonna judge it too early. I'm not sat here being like Epic's gonna be the best thing ever.
Yeah.
But I'm also not like, oh, it's just all crap.
Yeah.
Like I want to see what they do.
People have to be like not respectful, but like obviously understand that there's gonna be growing pains. Like it's a new thing, and like how. And I'm kind of like mixed on the exclusivity, because how are they going to bring or attract people over without doing something like that? And it might not be forever. So like,
I think I'm with you as well. I really don't like exclusivity. I would like every game ever to come out on every platform. But how else? I mean, let's be realistic. As a business, how else are Epic going to compete with Steam? How are they going to grab those customers? And again, that's what Epic wanted.
Well, right now it's the money. But if Steam were to ever lower their cut and match Epic, that could really be harmful to them, I think.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of the companies are taking advantage of, the money, where they're going to get more money per copy sold than if they go through Steam.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So if Steam were ever to match that, they're going to go, well, what do you have now, Epic? And they're going to go, well, I don't know. And then so they're all just going to start going back to Steam. So
yeah, exactly.
That's
well,
true.
On the other token of that, though, you say the only draw is the money. I think it's the big draw, but I think it's the only draw. Well, one of the draws is with Epic is you're on a much less saturated platform. There's only a handful of games on the Epic Store at the moment, so your game stands out. Whereas we know things like Borderlands is going to stand out anyway. But if you're, say, a smaller dev, like maybe an indie dev or a smaller studio, and your game isn't quite as high profile, you're now on a platform that only has, say, 50 games or 100 games, whereas Steam's got thousands, and a lot of them are, as Elliot says, trash. So you're literally competing with trash. We're talking about asset flips and games that don't work, and games that are copy paste crap. And it's like, why would you want to be sold next to that? And on top of the games, the controversial games and the games that nobody wants. So yeah, I think there are two main draws for the Epic Store from a developer and a publisher standpoint, but the money is interesting because there's a lot of people have been talking about, have they been given large bonuses, like actual money to come to Epic, or is it just the lower cut? Because when we're talking about a lower cut, what we're talking about is for every copy of your game sold on Steam or Epic, Steam and Epic respectively take a percentage. They take a cut, and Epic's is much lower than Steam's. We're talking, I think it's like 10% lower. Which is a lot of money. If you're selling a lot of copies, that's a lot of money in the long run. From a business standpoint, on paper, that's a lot of ones and zeros, which is, like we said, this is what, at the end of the day, I know developers want to make the greatest games, but the businesses just want to make money. So I can't really blame them for wanting to make more money on a better platform. Well, on a less competitive and saturated platform anyway. But if we're all done about Epic, kind of nice, easy. We all kind of agreed, really, didn't we? We're all kind of get over it. get over it. Which is going to trigger somebody. Somebody in the comments is going to be like, no, you don't get it. You're wrong. Please let me know if we're wrong. Let us know in the comments below. Go crazy. Knock yourself out. I will respond.
I mean, the only thing we didn't talk about, I think, was just the theory that people are worried that the investors are funded by Chinese corporations and that it might be funneling data to them.
Yeah, there's a lot of rumors and hearsay about this. I don't personally think a lot of it's true. I personally think a lot of it is just people angry looking for
something to say.
Yeah.
I feel like I obviously don't know enough on that at all to speak on it, but I think it was just a point to just be mentioned while we're talking about it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's 100% worth bringing up. I mean, because if it is something that is true, I mean, there was when the store did launch, there were a couple of little problems that were more important than we've been talking about. For example, there was a lack of a refund system when it was launched, and then when they did implement a refund system, it was crazy. It was like you had to basically email a load of your personal information over to Epic, and like things like your IP address and stuff like when did you buy the game and how many hours have you played and all this kind of information that, like, why do I have to supply that? Like, if I want to refund my game on Steam, if it's within 2 hours, I just get a basic automatic refund. If it's longer than that, I have to appeal it, but still, you only have to really describe why you want the refund. Like, does the game not work or whatever? Whereas Epic were asking for a lot of information, and what a lot of people were arguing, and I actually agreed with this at the time, was that the information that they were asking was actually, it goes against the GDPR, which is the European system of rules in place, which protects your data as a consumer. Basically stops your data from being sold onto third parties. It stops companies misusing your data, and it also gives you more protection to ask them to remove that data off their system. Something that I don't know if Americans, Canadians have really known as much as we have about it, obviously because it is in Europe. But the GDPR actually, it doesn't matter whether you're in Europe or not. If you're in America, if you're trading with Europe, you have to comply with the GDPR. And a lot of people were arguing that this didn't comply with the GDPR. And I agree with that. And they did change it. They changed it. They said, okay, it's not perfect. We'll change it. And they changed it very quickly. But no, you're absolutely right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Which is a good sign. They are listening. Like, this is the first time they've launched a store like this. They're not experts at it like Steam has. I'm sure when Steam first launched, it had similar sort of problems. I'm sure there was lack of features. I'm sure there was stuff that they did wrong and that's changed. And also, you got to remember that Steam have had 10 years. Well, they've had more than 10 years. They've had years and years. They've had over a decade to become professional, whereas Epic hasn't. But yeah, we have another topic lined up because I didn't know how long we were going to talk about this one for. We could talk about Dark Souls all day, but it comes to Epic Store, and that was it. We want to talk about Apex Legends because this is another big thing that everyone's talking about recently. Apex Legends, if you're not aware, was the latest kid on the block. It was the newest battle royale game in a swarm of battle royale games that came out, and
everything's battle royale.
Everything's battle royale. It was zombies first. Oh no, it was first person shooters, was it? Everything was a first person shooter, then everything was a zombie game, now everything's a battle royale game. Actually, before that we had Minecraft. Everything was crafting games. But yeah, it's the latest one that's come along, and it sort of exploded out of nowhere. It kind of came along. It was actually sort of Titanfall 3 in a way. In a way, it was what we got instead of Titanfall 3, which I am devastated about because I love Titanfall. But we got it, and it came out, and it exploded, and it exploded. It was getting higher views than Fortnite, which is an absolute achievement, can I just say, because Fortnite has been in the top
they did
3.
their launch right.
Yeah, absolutely.
They nailed it. I mean, they had all the highest Twitch streamers. They beta tested the game. They played it for countless amount of hours before it came out, and then days before it came out, they were all promoting it. And
yeah, I think now though, it's kind of died off. Apex Legends is, I wouldn't say it's dead. It's nowhere near dead, but Apex Legends is absolutely not performing as well as it was. So just for reference, I'm going by the Steam viewing, which the Twitch viewing. I'm going by the Twitch viewing rankings, which are not a perfect indicator of how well a game is doing. Not everybody's streaming it, not everybody's watching it on stream, but it's a good indication of how healthy a game is. The more people that are watching it on Twitch, the better the player base. And this is what a lot of people were arguing when Apex Legends came out, because it started to get more viewers than Fortnite. And everybody said, well, that was a good indicator that Apex was going to beat Fortnite. Fortnite was finally dead. It was, blah, blah, blah. Just for reference, Fortnite is currently, at time of recording, sat at 177,000 viewers on Twitch, whereas Apex Legends is at 36,500 viewers on Twitch, which is very interesting. And I want to talk about why you guys think why it blew up in the first place, which Toddy's also kind of touched on, but then why did it also decline? Because I have a theory on why Apex blew up so big and why it also collapsed. And I want to hear your guys' opinions. I want to know if you agree with me, if you think I'm wrong. What do you guys think? Why do you think Apex blew up so big? Again, it's another battle royale game, right? We've already got Fortnite and PUBG and others. Why do you think Apex? Why did Apex blow up and others didn't?
I mean, I think one of the big initial balls for Apex was the way they launched. Because they just launched out of nowhere. Just one day, there was a tweet, and it's like, oh, we're not working on Titanfall 3. Here's what we were making. Go. And they were like, you can just go get it now. It's on Origin. I mean, also, the other thing they did on day one was, reportedly, I don't know how well confirmed it is, but they paid off a load of huge Fortnite streamers to play Apex.
This is very common. A lot of streamers, you say paid off, a lot of streamers will get given some form of compensation to go along and play a new game for a couple of days or a week or whatever. It's kind of.
I mean, paid off sounds conspiratorial.
Well, it's sponsor content.
They got sponsored. Yeah,
it's
sponsored to play for launch.
Interesting. I'm not sure. And I'm going to go a bit off. Twitch, do you have to announce sponsorship?
No.
Okay.
You should. You
definitely should.
It's the same with YouTube. I mean, YouTube has only sort of recently started to say, no, you need to say if this is sponsored content or not. I think with Twitch, if the sponsorship comes from Twitch, Twitch has its own sponsorship program called the Bounty Board. If you do the Bounty Board, I'm pretty sure it comes up, this is sponsored content. And I'm not going to lie, I think some of the bigger high profile streamers, it also comes up in the bottom, this is sponsored content or contains sponsored content. But I think that's something you've got to enable yourself. I don't think from a legal standpoint, you have to.
Interesting.
No, you don't have to. A lot of them do the decency of putting it that it's a sponsored stream or stuff like that. Because there was one time, I'm not going to name drop anybody, but there was one person that was doing a sponsored stream and they didn't say anything about it. And when chat found out, they just started grilling the streamer about it.
Cannot hide anything from chat.
They felt so bad that they actually took the money that they got from the sponsorship and from the game and donated it to charity.
Yeah. I mean, what's the harm in just saying, hey guys, this company sponsored me. You might lose a couple of viewers who don't like that, but at the end of the day, if you're wanting to do a business, proposition with a company, if they want to leverage your audience and you want to show them the game, just tell them, say this is sponsored. And I think the problem is it depends on the type of sponsorship. Now, if you're going to sponsor somebody and say, be positive about this game, that's when we start to get problems. Because if somebody came to me and said, hey, we'll give you a lot of money to play our game, but we want you to be positive about it, and I go and play it and I hate it, what do? Sit there going, I love this game. It's the best game ever. I really love the loot boxes. The loot boxes are my favorite part. No, you guys would know that I'm not enjoying the game. And so it's a real risk, I think, to your brand, really. And as a Twitch streamer, you are a brand. Let's be honest. Anybody who streams on Twitch, you have a brand. I think it's a real risk to your brand to take a sponsorship and not announce it. I think it's just safer to say it's a sponsor content, and then if you like it or you don't like it. I think a lot of content creators are scared of, annoying the company, because they say, oh, this is sponsored. Oh, by the way, I hated it. And then the company's like, well, never going to sponsor you again.
Yeah.
Which has happened in the past. Again, another thing that Total Biscuit used to talk about, this is why he used to say, all of my content that is sponsored, I'm going to tell you about it. He used to do it before anybody else was doing it because of the same thing. If somebody finds out that it's sponsored, there's real implications there.
I mean, I find it ridiculous there's still a stigma to this. Like,
Yeah.
there are people online that their full-time job is that they play video games. Like, that's how they make their money. And they're still being like, you're a sellout. It's like,
I can understand because there is an element of that to it. Again, if we go back to the example of me, if I was to play a game and I was sponsored and I was really super over positive of that, and you guys might then be like, well, hang on, is he positive because he got the money, or is he positive because he actually liked it? And you know me, I wouldn't accept a sponsorship without this express agreement that I'm giving you my honest opinion. If anybody out there who is a company, if you ever want to sponsor me, that's great. Just know that I'm going to be honest. And if your product is crap, I'm going to tell people, yeah, have a good product. It's not hard, is it? But no, you're right. There's a real risk there, especially if you're somebody who builds your brand on showing people games, and especially if you're going to critique them or anything like that. There is a risk that you're going to be biased when it comes to a brand deal and a sponsorship. But when it comes to being like a taboo thing, I think you're right. Like, everybody who does this as a job needs to make money, and there's ways of doing it, and sponsorships is one of those. And that, it shouldn't be this underhanded, under the table sort of dealing. Would it not be better that we all know, that Blindside is playing Bloodborne sponsored? He's not, by the way. Just
oh, I wish. From Software, if you're watching, can you pay me to play your amazing game? And also, can you give me a copy of Sekiro?
Yeah, I'll have a copy too. Thanks. Yeah. But no, so going back to the topic of Apex, why do you guys think it blew up to the degree? So do you think it's partly because of the sponsored Twitch streamers, and any other reasons you think maybe it got so big in so quickly as well?
I feel like it almost had, like, as someone who doesn't play these games, but
Yeah.
it almost had like a more mature appeal to it compared to Fortnite. Like,
Absolutely.
Fortnite is like very known for like it being applied to children, and like the way that it color schemes and the skins and all of that. Like, it's very much like very eccentric,
Mhm.
where almost yeah, the other, like, the other one is like more mature, like the guns look more mature, like the environment looks more mature, like it almost had like an adult audience for it. So it I don't know, I feel like maybe that was like where it kind of had a selling point for people who are willing to try something else. They're like, oh, maybe I won't be amongst a bunch of like 9-year-olds. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, just as like an outside perspective.
I think you're absolutely, you are hitting some points there. The thing with Fortnite is, and it's almost a joke at this point, but the majority of Fortnite's audience are children. But let's be honest, they're children and teenagers, and you can see this if anybody has children or knows any children. You know that they're all playing Fortnite. It's the new Minecraft. It's bigger than Minecraft ever was, but it's the new Minecraft. And I think you're absolutely right. I think part of the appeal was that a lot of people thought, well, hang on, this is a little bit more, I don't know if I'd say mature was necessarily the right word, but it is a little bit less wacky and silly, because Fortnite is very wacky and silly. You've got all the kids doing the dances, and you've got toys and stuff in Fortnite
it's a
now.
Tad bit more realistic.
Yeah, it's a tad bit.
I guess mature isn't the, like, more refined, maybe. Like,
it's a very good middle ground between Fortnite and PUBG. PUBG is incredibly realist. Fortnite is very wacky.
Yeah.
And I think like Apex, with like the different characters having skills and stuff, like it gives it a bit more of like a game feel than a simulator feel.
Yeah.
But it's not, you're going around hitting things with a pickaxe shaped like a unicorn and the other ridiculous things that are in Fortnite.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
So, I feel like that's like a big like distinction between the two, where like someone who maybe is an older audience wouldn't necessarily appreciate that, and then in Apex they would.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's interesting because I think you're absolutely right. I think that's part of what made it stand out, but I also think that's part of its downfall. So my theory, and this is just a theory, a grumpy theory.
Oh
Not do
dear.
that. Let's not do that. We just went full on
It's
copyright.
back, guys.
We're in for it now.
Oh, that's it. That's it. We're done. Thank you. This has been the episode 2 and the final episode of the podcast. But no, I think so. My theory is, and this is just my own opinion, so I've got nothing to back this up. But I feel like a lot of the reason why Apex Legends blew up was because of Twitch streamers. I think a lot of the reason why was because of Twitch streamers, and let me go into what I mean. So Fortnite has been the one that everybody wants to stream ever since Ninja grew huge on Twitch and made millions and millions and millions of dollars. Let's be honest, there's a lot of people, and this is fact, by the way. If you I forget the exact place where you can find the statistics, but basically when Ninja streamed with Drake, there were many accounts created, much more than there ever had been in a huge, in a small window of time, were made after that stream because everybody started to try and be him, right? So there was a lot of copycats. There was a lot of people that wanted to come to Twitch to do similar things to Ninja, and I think that is partly one of the reasons why Fortnite has maintained such a huge Twitch following for so long. And so when Apex Legends came along, I personally feel like a lot of Twitch streamers were hoping that this was going to be their big break. I think a lot of Twitch streamers they were struggling with Fortnite, they were struggling to get out of that maybe 10 viewership bubble or whatever, because let's be honest, Fortnite is a super saturated game to stream. If I could click on it now, there are pages and pages and pages and pages of people streaming Fortnite. Like if you're sat there with 1 or 2 viewers, you are like 50, 60, 100 pages down. It's crazy. And everybody's doing what you're doing when you stream Fortnite, but better, because they've been doing it for longer. They've got bigger audiences, they've got bigger equipment or whatever. So I think a lot of people thought that Apex Legends was going to be their big break. And so when Apex was released, especially with it being a free-to-play game as well, because anyone can jump in and play to it. And by the way, that was one of the reasons why a lot of people think that Fortnite did so well, was because it's free-to-play and children don't have a lot of money to get into games. So when Apex Legends was released and it was free to play, a lot of these Twitch streamers, I believe, thought it was going to do wonders for their channel. They were going to be one of the very first Apex Legends streamers, and that people were going to see them winning games, and that they were going to be the next Ninja. And I think that everybody did this. I think thousands of people all had the same idea. And I mean, I'm not going to lie, when Apex Legends first came out, I looked at it and went, yeah, I ain't going to stream that I'm not going to bother streaming that for a couple of days. I was like, nah, there's no point. It's so saturated. You're not going to get seen with a lower audience. And so I think this huge influx of all of these streamers trying to compete to gain some, and I'm not saying these people are bad for doing this. I'm not critiquing them. But I think a lot of people thought that it was going to be the big break, and they came over to Apex, and so they did it for a few weeks. And then they realized that it wasn't working. I think a lot of these streamers were like, this is just as saturated as Fortnite. I'm not gaining any more viewers. I'm not gaining I'm not exploding. My channel isn't exploding like I thought it was going to. And I think a lot of people have just given up and gone back. So that's my main theory on why I think it blew up to the extent that it did. I'm not saying that Apex didn't blow up because it wasn't a good game, or because they didn't do a lot of things right, and it did have a good launch, but I think it wouldn't have blown up to the extent it did without that surge of Twitch streamers. And they've left. I think they've all gone. I think they've all realized that it wasn't going to blow their channel up like they thought it was. And I think when they left, a lot of the players left. I think they went back to Fortnite. What do you guys think? Do you think I'm right? Do you think I'm wrong? Do you think I'm off the mark?
No, you're right. And something a lot of people don't think about either, the amount of stream snipers. Everybody wants to be that person that kills Shroud or Doc or Ninja. Yeah. So when they were all playing Apex, everyone in their channel was playing Apex trying to kill them.
100%.
And as soon as they move on to a different game, they game hop with them. If they're not playing that game anymore, they're going to be like, well, I'm not going to play this. I'm going to go try to kill them on whatever game that they're playing now. I mean, you could watch any Shroud video on YouTube and see 20 or 30 people land with him in PUBG. I mean,
yeah,
it's
which
crazy.
Is a real problem, to be fair. Like, I know Ninja has talked about this before, other streamers have talked about this before. It is a problem because it kind of ruins your enjoyment. But just to add to that, I think you're absolutely right. I think that's a big element of it. But to add to that as well, not necessarily people who want to just stream snipe, but what about people who just like we talk about in my stream, we talk about streamfection. I coined this term, and I'll be damned if anyone else has said it first. But we talk about streamfection, whereas when you start watching somebody, stream a game or on YouTube, you kind of want to go and play it. It makes you want to play the game. Like, how many times as streamers do you guys hear, oh, you loaded up this game, now I want to play it?
All the time.
Yeah, and so Exactly. So with people that have huge audiences that are in the thousands, when they're playing, like you said, when they're playing Apex Legends, all of their following want to play Apex Legends too. Because they're like, oh, my favorite streamer's playing Apex. Now I want to go and play Apex. Maybe I'll see them in game. Maybe, I'll whatever. Like I want to be part of that community almost. And I think once those streamers started to leave, their communities left also, and they went back to whatever game it was that they were playing before, whether that be Fortnite, PUBG, Black Ops, whatever, whatever game they were playing. But yeah, did any of you guys play Apex? Did any of you guys give it a go?
Yeah, I played a lot of Apex.
You played a lot of it and you enjoyed it?
I think I
I
streamed
went
it
as
as
far
well.
as downloading it.
You downloaded it. You didn't play it. You just downloaded it. I mean, is it still downloaded? Have you deleted it yet? Or...
Oh, it's still downloaded. I just haven't booted it up yet.
I
so
spent
you
a full
liked it?
day watching their tournament like a few months ago.
They had a tournament.
They did. To be fair, I think it was the last time that they really like pushed viewership for it. Was that they did they do a Twitch? I can't remember if they did a Twitch versus for it, but they did like Respawn did a tournament themselves. And they kind of pushed like, oh, we've got all these we've got some pro players and we've got some streamers and we've got like this and that, and they did it like that. So it was kind of a last hurrah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think
I
it
watched
seems to have been.
Dr. Disrespect do it, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Taylor earlier was saying how, Apex was a little bit more mature, whatever you want to call it. But Fortnite is very wacky, very childlike, very silly. And I think that was part of why Fortnite is so successful with the younger audience. I think one of the things that they love doing is they love seeing their favorite streamer kill somebody, then do a silly dance on their corpse, Like, I mean, I won't lie, it's not my content, but even I can appreciate that, how it can be hilarious. I mean, I played a little bit of Fortnite and I've been killed by people and then I've seen them, I've been spectating, I've seen them dance on my corpse and been like, 12-year-old little shit. But no, I think a lot of the younger audience went straight back to Fortnite because, and let's be honest, here's something that I actually had a conversation with my nephews about. So my nephews, all four of them are massive Fortnite players, and every time, without fail, if I go and visit them, the first thing they will do is like, have you seen the new skin I've got on Fortnite? And they will show me the skin that they purchased with their mother's money. Don't know how she has that much money, but anyway, they will show me the skins that they've got, and then they will go and play a match and be like, look at this one, it's got wings and stuff and all of this lot. And as somebody, I personally really like cosmetics in video games. Like, I really like the aesthetics. I like being able to change my characters how they look, especially if I can customize, especially in a multiplayer game. I like to be able to customize my person and make them different to everybody else. I know that might sound a bit snowflakey, but I like that, and I think Fortnite has that in spades. There are hundreds of skins, probably, I don't know, if not thousands now, on Fortnite, and a lot of them are really, really good. Objectively, a lot of them are really highly detailed. They're really distinct. You've got dragons and ice queens and all sorts. Whereas Apex Legends came out and was like, yeah, here's some recolors. Here's some recolor skins that you get through loot boxes, and that's it. And I think a lot of that has turned the younger audience straight back. Do we have a guest?
Go away! My camera.
We have an extra guest, ladies and gentlemen, on the GG Well Played podcast. Welcome in. Announce yourselves.
Episode 3 will have 3 guests.
It's fine. It happens.
This is one of the things I read about too, Grumpy. When you had mentioned we were doing this, I started looking up into theories and reasons why Apex might have failed. And they said, between the cosmetics and the loot
I wouldn't
system,
say that it's failed. I wouldn't say that it's a failure. I think it's just was hugely successful, and now it's not quite as successful. Sorry, carry on.
And the other thing was the season pass or game pass, whatever Apex's version of it is. I guess it just wasn't very good. Like, the items you get weren't that great, and I guess the amount of XP you needed to progress to the next level was just ridiculous, and you had to play so much time just to get the items.
Yeah, I mean, from what I only played at launch, and I only played for a couple of days, and honestly, I didn't like it all that much. The reason why I didn't like it mainly was because I felt like it took a lot of the really negative sides of battle royales and made them worse. My main criticism with Apex Legends, so my main bugbear with any battle royale game, is that you spend half of the game running around looking for loot, looking for guns, and then you get shot in the head, and then you've got to do it all over again. And Apex Legends made that even worse. If you die in Apex Legends, you can get resurrected by your teammates if they can get your corpse and bring it to I think it's a flag or something. And if they do that, you resurrect with no items.
With no items,
with
yeah.
nothing. I'm like, you might as well just kill me now. I don't want to have to run around at the end of a match. Like the longer for every battle royale, they're all kind of similar. The longer the match goes on, you're facing people with better guns because they've killed other people and taken their guns. So they've got better guns, they've got better equipment, and they're also probably better players because the crapper players have been killed already. So the longer the match goes on, you really don't want to be in a position where you have no items. You don't have time to loot. You know, the smaller zone. It's just, there's a lot of really poor design choices in Apex Legends that just really turned me off. I wouldn't say it was a bad game, and it had some really great ones too, like the oh, I forget what you'll tell me, Elliot. What's the like system where your name can come up on the scoreboard, like the pro team or whatever?
The kill leaders.
Yeah, the kill leaders. I really like that.
There's
system.
a kill leader in the game you're in, and then there's also there's always like a squad who the game before they won. So at the start of your game, it comes up and it's like, this is a squad that won their last game.
Yeah.
And there's like bounties for, I can't exactly remember how the bounties worked, but like if you kill the kill leader or if you kill the last match's MVPs, then like there is bonuses attributed to that as well.
Yeah, and they have their portraits or whatever you want to call them, their avatars up on billboards for the match. I think that's a really nice little touch. I really enjoyed that aspect from what I played of Apex, but for me, there was a lot of really bad design choices. I think the classes were interesting. The different characters were interesting. Some of them were less effective as others, and I didn't like that they locked some behind paywalls, but especially considering that a lot of people are convinced that Caustic is actually pretty... Is he called Caustic? He's actually pretty
Caustic
good.
is the guy with like the big gas stuff.
Yeah, the toxic stuff. A lot of people think he's pretty good, so locking him behind a paywall was a little bit thingy for me. But again, it's a free-to-play game. You know, they've got to make money somehow. But I feel like the combination of the Twitch viewership declining, I think the combination of, let's be honest, there isn't all that much content in it. You know, like, again, Fortnite has all of the cosmetic content. PUBG is a weird one because PUBG doesn't have that much content, but PUBG is the only sort of realistic battle royale that we have.
They have the maps too, though.
Yeah, they have the different maps, absolutely. I mean, PUBG is my preferred battle royale, like, so I'm a little bit biased when it comes to PUBG. But PUBG has the Apex has a really high time to kill, and so does Fortnite. PUBG doesn't, and that's why I like it. I like the lower time to kill, unless you have, you know, tier 3 armor. I like the fact that you can get sniped once in the head and die. I like that a lot. It feels good when you snipe somebody. Whereas in both Apex and Fortnite, you snipe somebody in the head, it doesn't feel as good to me. I think they should be dead. Yeah. They should be dead on the floor. I got a headshot, you're gone. But no, it's very interesting how a lot of people thought that Apex was going to be a Fortnite killer. And this is something that we have encountered with every big game ever. You know, what's going to kill WoW? What's going to kill Fortnite? What's going to kill, I don't know, Halo? This is ironic because Halo killed Halo. But we've always had this idea that a game has to kill another one, and it rarely works out. It rarely works out.
That's funny, because I was going to say, didn't H1 kill H1?
Yeah, probably. But no, it never works out, does it? It never works out. When you have an industry leader, and let's be honest, Fortnite is the industry leader in battle royales, as much as I don't prefer it. It is. It's the industry leader in battle royales, and I don't think anything's going to come close anytime soon unless they do something drastic, and I just don't think Apex did quite enough.
Well, Fortnite did a lot to... I mean, Fortnite, at no point did they ever seem to be like, oh... like Apex is becoming like a competitor, because I mean they carried on, like Apex got huge, they carried on releasing like their Valentine's Day stuff, like all their holiday content, their season passes, releasing new content and skins. Apex didn't really do any of that, which I think is like a really big part of it. Like the shards and stuff you use to craft skins, weapon skins, all the other stuff that you can like change. Once you reach like player level 100, you stop getting those materials.
Yeah, I've heard about this.
So everything you buy in the game, once you've hit level 100, you can no longer get mats to do it. And it's just like, so you don't get the boxes that have the stuff in. So you have to then buy, well, I mean, the loot box, if it's like, oh, you leveled up, here's a loot box. I'm not like horribly against. But yeah, at level 100, you stop getting them. So if you want more cosmetics or anything like that, it's cash. That is your only option at that point.
Yeah, which I think is a real mistake, because you've got to remember that there are some people out there that just don't have a lot of money. But here's the thing. If somebody doesn't have a lot of money and your game is free to play and they're playing your game, you want them to play your game as long as possible, because eventually they might have the money to spare. And if they're playing your game every day, they're more likely to become a paying customer. Whereas if they get turned off because they're like, well, now I'm level 100 and I can't get anything for free anymore, so I might as well go back to Fortnite where at least I can get stuff, you know, like I think that it's potentially a real detriment to your business model. I just think generally Apex just didn't do enough of anything. But I think a lot of people have theorized that they didn't expect to do as well as they did, and so they were kind of like not prepared for with the next wave of content because they didn't know it was going to be so huge.
The size of their growth, they needed to be working on like their new rolling out content basically from launch. But because they launched straight out the gate, they didn't really test anything. They didn't have beta testing, no alpha testing, like outside of their company. I mean, it was a good decision at the time because there were so many games coming out with people going like, oh, well, it's not a finished game, or like just games getting like crapped on by people from beta tests and stuff where they're like, oh, well, it's not like finished. So they finished the game first and then they just gave it to everyone. That was it. There was no announcement. There was no way of having bad press out until everyone could just experience the game anyway, which was great for them. But they needed to be working on further content from that day.
Yeah.
Because they, in like 2 months' time, they needed to be like, when their player base started dropping, they need to be like, here's a new map, or here is, I mean, they released like some new guns and stuff, but really, I don't think it made too much odds, like new weapons.
Yeah.
They needed like, I mean, they just released a new character, Octane, who has like jump pads.
It's funny, I didn't even know they had. Like, I don't hear anything about Apex anymore. I didn't know they didn't even release a new character, to be honest.
Yeah, so they released a new character, Octane, who has like jump pads and stuff.
I feel like it's always more impactful like when they release like a new variation versus like a new skin, because like like a map would be so much more like entertaining, I would think, and hold you for so much longer than like looking at something that looks a little bit different.
Well, it just changes the game up a bit more.
Yeah,
I think
exactly. The thing with Fortnite is it's interesting because Fortnite only has one map, but what they do is they change the map in Fortnite. So like very often as well, the map in Fortnite changes every week. There's a certain area of the map that has the community, they can, because you can obviously craft in Fortnite, right? Craft things, and people do. They make their own sort of like I don't know how you would describe it, but there's like a build mode, and they build things in that. And so every week in Fortnite, they add somebody from the community, their like block into the game, and so you can drop there, and people have made all sorts, like somebody, when I first started playing, somebody had made like a turtle. Shows that I've not played Fortnite very much, but somebody made like a big giant turtle, and you could go and land on it. So you don't
spent a few hours and I made a mall.
You made a mall? What, in Fortnite?
Yeah. I was like, oh, like I can build something.
But here we go. This is a great example. You're not a shooter player, are you? And yet you found something that drew you into Fortnite, even if it was only for a day, right? You were drawn into Fortnite. Whereas that's another advantage that Fortnite has over Apex. And I think the problem is if you're going to be somebody that comes out after, you know, the other competitors, you've got to work harder. You know, like Fortnite and PUBG were the two top dogs for so long. If you want to compete with those, you've got to do something bigger and better. And I just don't think Apex did. I don't think Apex did really anything spectacularly better than either of them. And, you know, we've seen this with other games. We've seen like Ring of Elysium came out. A lot of people really like Ring of Elysium. Why didn't it blow up the same? Again, because they didn't do anything spectacularly different, or they didn't push the boat out. They didn't evolve the genre, I think. And that's something where you have such huge loyal fan bases as Fortnite and PUBG, you really do have to evolve the genre if you want to stand out. And this is something that we come across, isn't it, as Twitch streamers? You know, we're trying to play games that thousands of other people are playing. So like, how do we stand out as a Twitch streamer? And that can be very difficult. And I don't blame the developers for not being able to figure that out. But at the same time, then if you don't figure that out, don't expect your game to, you know, beat the established status quo, as it were. But no, so none of us play Apex. None of us play it at all.
Nope.
No.
Well, I think another thing.
I watch a lot of it.
Fair.
I think the other thing too was they went from 4-player squads down to 3.
Yeah, and the others have different modes. Like with Fortnite, you can do solos, duos, squads. Same with PUBG, you can do solos, duos, squads. Yeah. With Apex, you can't. You always have to be in a squad of 3, and that was my biggest. I heard they were
adding that in. Maybe was that something that's already been?
I don't know.
Or
Blind, do you know if they added it in yet?
I
doubt they have.
No idea.
I doubt that they have yet. And this was one of my biggest turnoffs when I first played that game, is because some days I just want to play by myself. I don't want to have to worry about teammates screaming down my ear because I didn't shoot the person they were shooting at or whatever, you know. I didn't get good or whatever. Or I shot them in the back of the head by accident. I don't know, okay? Sometimes I just
Testing out the friendly fire function.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I don't know if it would work. I don't know. Toddy's actually played Portal 2 with me on stream, so Toddy knows sometimes how I get. But no, it was
shenanigans.
Definitely shenanigans is putting it lightly. There was several betrayals. But no, I think Apex having the one mode as well really hurt it too.
One of the things that Apex, I think, did really well, because obviously you're forced into 3-man squads, was their communication system, the ping system on the middle mouse button was brilliant. But then Fortnite just put that in.
Yeah.
And that it's really all Fortnite had to do when Apex came out and everyone was like, oh, we really like this communication system. We played it for a bit. And then Fortnite just went, well, I'm just going to shamelessly put that in the game. And it worked for them.
Let's be honest. Like, a lot of the battle royale genres are very iterative. They take lots of inspiration from each other. You all dropping out of some form of flying vehicle, and you all have some sort of ring that gets smaller. You have a zone that gets smaller. You all have loot on the floor of varying quality, and you all have body armor, and you can all get downed and resurrected. They all have so many similarities to each other, which is fine because not every game can be completely unique. This is how we.
Let's make a square, people.
Yeah, exactly. We'll have a square. Oh no, a triangle. Illuminati confirmed. But so you can't complain.
Weren't an accident because of the big criticism of Fortnite was they were one of the devs that had worked with PUBG.
Yeah.
So they'd helped make PUBG.
Yeah.
And then they were like, we can do this. So the similarities there weren't really like this is like a battle royale thing. It was this is exactly the game but colourful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the differences between PUBG and Fortnite, though, is that Fortnite is developed well. And again, I say this as somebody who prefers PUBG. PUBG is feels sometimes almost like an asset flip, let's be honest. But no, there's definitely a lot of, let's just say, borrowed ideas when it comes to battle royales, and that's absolutely fine. We've had that with first-person shooters for years. I mean, come on, every first-person shooter ever has, an overlay and a I don't know, you reload functions, like saying, hey, well, we made a game that didn't have a reload function because we wanted to stand out. No, we want to be able to reload. And I think that's absolutely fine.
Mass Effect 1 had no reload.
Did it have a reload, Mass Effect 1?
No, it was thermal clips. So it was fine until the thermal thing ended. And everyone was like, I hate this. I have to wait till my gun's not hot anymore to fire.
Which I'm pretty sure Halo did that with some of its guns. I remember there were guns in Halo that did it with some of it. But no, I think this is the most iterative genre I've ever seen. I've never seen a genre be this similar. But it's like, the way I view it is it's like a football match, right? It's like a football match or a soccer match for, you guys. Like, you don't have to have there's no different rules for every soccer match, is there? Football match. It's the same game, except sometimes you're playing, I don't know, with women, and sometimes with men. Sometimes you're playing with children. Sometimes you're playing in the, I don't know. I don't do sports, all right. But sometimes you're doing like a World Cup.
Kind of weak.
Shush. Sometimes you're working like you're doing in the World Cup, and sometimes you're doing like Premier League. It's the same game, but it's different, right? And I think this is what the battle royale genre is. They've made this really good formula. And PUBG and Fortnite and other games have made this really good formula, and every game is trying to make that formula but with their own flavor. And I think that's why people they're not necessarily working either, because we've already played the game. Like why would I go from a game that I have hundreds of hours in and loads of cosmetics and stuff to your game, which is basically the same? I think
that's what obsessed me so much about PUBG, is that it has the potential to be such a good game if they would just listen to the community and do these little fixes that we've been asking for since launch.
Going back to the previous conversation, Epic versus Steam, this is exactly what PUBG is right now. It's the Steam of the world. There is no other competitor to PUBG, because as much as Fortnite does better, and a lot of people loved Apex, PUBG is the only really like low time to kill, I guess you could call it like a Twitch shooter, battle royale that we have. There is nothing that comes close to having that similar sort of shooting realistic feel that PUBG has. And so they're the only one. And I think if there was another, game that was just as good, that maybe did it a little bit better, then maybe PUBG would be in trouble. At least Fortnite has all of these cosmetics and the building mode to fall back on, whereas PUBG doesn't really have that. It's just battle royale with realisticness, and that's it.
PUBG just has the maps.
Yeah.
Like we were saying, nobody else has as many maps as PUBG does. It seems like every battle royale comes out with, they want it to be faster and quicker, and the matches go quicker, and they're all just getting more fast paced. Call of Duty is still really fast paced. Fortnite May not be as fast paced as that, but I mean it's up there. And Apex was just super fast.
Call of Duty might not be quite as fast paced in terms of sales, though. Let's be honest. It's interesting as well because
I was talking about gameplay, not sales.
no. I'm just being a dick. No, it's interesting because the exact same arguments came out with COD Blackout. Everyone was saying that COD Blackout was Blackout, if you don't know, is the battle royale mode in the latest Call of Duty Black Ops, and everyone was saying that was going to kill Fortnite and PUBG, and it was going to be so good. Exactly the same thing happened with that. Blackout sort of blew up for like a week, and then nobody was playing it. Everyone went back to whatever game that they were playing previously, and I did the same thing. I bought Call of Duty. I bought it mainly for the multiplayer, if I'm being honest, but I bought it. I enjoyed it for like a week. I played Blackout and was like, why would I play this over any of the others? And it's exactly the same. It had some good points to it, but the good points weren't enough to take me away from a game that I've already invested in. And I think that's the main reason why Apex is not going to work unless they do something radically different. And I think it might be too late. I think people maybe already turned off from it.
Well, I mean, as you were saying earlier, when I was saying they got a new character, and you were just like, I didn't even know.
I didn't know.
Like, I think they've missed their window of opportunity really to start making change stuff because people aren't following them. Like, people aren't checking the Reddit. They're not checking patch notes. They're not going into Origin and looking at. I mean, I don't think Origin is very good for patch notes and stuff anyway. Like, people aren't paying attention to it anymore. So they could come out and be like, we brought out a whole new game mode and all this other stuff, and there's going to be a whole host of gamers out there that don't know because they're sat playing Fortnite. Like, they're going to have no idea that this stuff's changed.
There's nothing to bring me to the Origin launcher to check it. If I'm not already playing Apex, I'm not going to go to the Origin launcher to look for Apex updates. You know what I mean? And there's nothing else that's going to bring me that's going to make me look and say, "Oh, well, look, Apex had an update or something."
It's very interesting that you bring that up, Toddy, because I will go to Steam to find information out about games. If I want to know whether a game is good, just very quickly, I'll go to the Steam. I'll type it in Steam, get a overwhelmingly positive. Okay, it's good. When did it come out? I'll go to Steam. What games am I looking at buying next month? I'll go to Steam. It's very interesting that you bring that up. Sorry, Elliot, did you have something to say?
I was basically just going to say, like, are you not opening Origin all the time just to update The Sims? That's why I've got it open almost every day.
I should play it.
I think it's the only thing that has people go. I mean, I used to open Origin all the time because of the on the house. Origin used to do on the house deals.
Yeah, remember those.
Which is another thing we never even covered with Epic. Epic offer free games.
Yes,
there's always a free game.
Yeah,
that you just add to your library.
Currently, I think it's Transistor.
Transistor.
Which is a fantastic game.
Bastion was amazing.
Yeah. So the only reason I actually installed Epic Store in the first place was for Hades, which is made by Supergiant, which is the company that made Bastion, Transistor, all of these games. And it convinced me to download the launcher and buy Hades because it was an Epic Store exclusive. It was an Epic Store exclusive before the controversy came about Epic Store exclusives, interestingly enough. But yeah, so now
no one cared about Hades. They're like, wait, but Borderlands, and then they come back.
Yeah, which is a shame because Hades was actually a really, really neat little game. Honestly, it's still in early access, which is interesting because it's an early access exclusive on Epic. But it's a good game. I actually did a very, very bad YouTube video about my impressions of Hades. It's like an hour and a half long. No, it's not that long. It's very long and very dull, but you can find it if you want. It's on my YouTube. But yeah, they've got free games, and at the moment they've had some really good ones. Like you say, Transistor is fantastic. It's
they had Super Meat Boy a while back because that's where I downloaded it because I mean I already had Subnautica. I've been playing Subnautica for too long. I literally downloaded Epic Games because they were like, oh, we have Super Meat Boy for free.
Yeah,
and I was like, I know that's a brutal platformer, and I'm gonna have a crack at it. I was just. So I downloaded the launcher.
You can't argue with free games. A free game is a free game. Like, you didn't pay anything for it. Like, you can't argue with that. And it's not like PlayStation Plus free, where you get it for free if you sign up every month and you got to pay money. And then if you stop paying money, you can't play the games that you were already playing. So it's
you
not
just
like
do what I did and you buy like 3 years worth of PS Plus on Black Friday when it costs nothing. I think I pay like £2 a month or so. But I have a PS Plus subscription for like 2 more years. So I was like, a year subscription for like 20-something pound. I was like, yeah, give me a couple, it'll be fine.
I mean, I don't mind PS Plus. It's a lot of people don't like that either. I mean, I agree it's crappy that you have to pay per month to play with your friends online, but There has been some good games on PS Plus that I've really
I mean,
enjoyed.
Xbox Gold did the same thing. I
Yeah.
mean,
I didn't like it then
obviously,
either, but
well, all their games are like dedicated servers and stuff like that. So I'm like, you're paying a couple quid
yeah.
a month to make it so that you're not having to like local hosts and stuff. Like, we've all played DBD. Toddy, have you played much DBD?
I have about like 12 hours, but I've watched hundreds of hours.
We all know how- we all know
A lot
how
of people
brutal
watch it before
is.
they play it, you know. It's I did the same thing. It's really weird. A lot of people watch Dead by Daylight before they get it.
But we all know how brutal, like, just the killer hosting the matches
Yes.
every
Oh,
time.
yeah.
You get a
God,
bad
yeah.
connection, and it's just like, cool, rip this game.
Don't
disconnect.
give behavior ideas, Elliot. They'll start charging for dedicated servers now. Just play it $5.99 a month for the Dead by Daylight monthly
I mean, no, because
package.
like
I don't know
obviously with
if I
PC games,
would.
like
I wouldn't. I'm just
They
saying,
are
don't-
coming out
I
with
wouldn't-
dedicated
I wouldn't pay
servers
for
soon,
dedicated
though,
servers.
aren't
Yeah, I
they?
know
What
they
I'm saying,
are.
like, if I pay Sony £2 a month so that all of my games I could play online, have parties, voice chat, all that stuff on my console, fine. Like,
Yeah.
if that's what you want, like,
I
whatever.
think most people
Um,
were against it because you get that for free on PC. But it's difficult because on PC this is a lot easier. On consoles it is more difficult to,
mm.
you know, to do things like hosting servers and whatnot. Whereas with PC, it depends on the
It's-
actual company. It's not like it has to go through Sony or Microsoft either, and that's what has to happen.
Well, yeah, this is the thing. Like, if it's through a console, it's a very different system.
Yeah.
I
I mean, this is just another reason to get a PC. Don't get consoles. Just saying.
Yeah,
PC Master Race.
console exclusives. That's really it.
Well, now we have those now on PC. Now we're getting PC exclusives.
Yay, PC exclusives. Well, the weird thing is, so like, obviously, like with Borderlands 3 being an Epic exclusive, it's like consoles just have it.
Yeah.
Like, if you're that anti-Epic, get it on a console.
Don't
like,
do
assuming
that.
you have a
Don't
console.
do that. Get it on PC. Don't buy it on console. It's a first-person shooter. How can you recommend one of those on a console with a
Do-
controller?
Do
Wrong
what
with
you
you?
want to do.
Yeah, no,
Do
I'm kidding.
Do what you
Dude.
want to do.
Buy it on what platform you want it. But this is why I don't like exclusivity though, because I feel like for you the consumer, having it available on every platform is more choice. Then you can buy it on the platform that you like the most. And I think going back to our original topic is what a lot of people are angry about Epic exclusivity is because they prefer Steam and they want to play their games on Steam. And absolutely, I can understand that. If you want to buy a game on Xbox, buy it on Xbox. If you only own an Xbox, you want all of the games on Xbox. So I'm never going to fully support exclusives, but it's one of those, I think it's just a harsh reality that we all have to just get on board with it because it's never going to go away. It's never going to go away.
Like, nowadays, you can vote with your wallet. If you don't like the fact that it's exclusive, wait 6 months, buy it on Steam. And then next time when they're making Borderlands 4 or next time that someone's making it, like if Borderlands 3 has this whole, like, they didn't sell any copies for the first 6 months of its release. And then 6 months later when it went onto Steam, then like they won't do it anymore.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, that's
do it
never
that way.
going to happen because gamers are impatient. And which is why, the business
It's
model
true.
for a lot of games for many years has been about hype and pre-order because people want the game on day one. But you're right. People should vote with their wallets. If you really don't like the exclusivity on Epic, then don't buy it on Epic. Wait for it to come on Steam, get it when you want it. And if it's not coming to Steam, then maybe don't buy it. I know that's radical. And as somebody who works in video games, I shouldn't be encouraging you not to buy video games. But if you truly strongly believe that much that you don't want to have to buy a game on Epic, then don't buy it on Epic. Don't buy it.
Well, I mean,
And if that means
you-
that game doesn't do as well, so be it,
if you're super against like the Epic exclusivity and then it comes out on Epic and you're like, oh, but I've got to have it, then you're probably not that against it.
Yeah.
Because you're like, you've gone and done it anyway. So you're probably just
Absolutely.
having a bit of a hissy about nothing.
Probably. Does anybody have anything to add to the conversations before we start going into where we can find each other and wrap up? No?
I never understood console exclusives. How could they be making enough money just from one console to?
Well, it goes
justify
back to what we
keeping
were
it
saying
on
earlier. It's if you are exclusive to Sony, you're probably going to get some money from Sony, probably quite a large amount of Sony, to be exclusive to Sony. And then you are exclusive, and then if it's a timed exclusive, well, great. Just go to the other console later on. If it's not a timed exclusive, let's be honest, a lot of these games that are exclusives, let's just say like The Last of Us or something like that, they get funded by Sony. There's an element of funding there, so they might not, have the money to make the game in the first place, and so they need that, extra help making it, and so then you're kind of beholden to them, then, aren't you? You can't really be sold on Xbox if you were funded by Sony. Wouldn't. It's just the same with Nintendo though. Like Nintendo games would never come to Xbox or PlayStation or PC, and Nintendo seem to be doing okay.
Well, this is the weirdest thing talking about exclusivity. Nintendo every Nintendo game is exclusive.
Yeah.
Nintendo don't give the games to anyone.
I think
they
the Switch is
play with other people. They're not happy about anything.
Yeah, the Switch is the exception to that, and even then, like the Switch, I think Nintendo realized, well, no, the more like little indie games we can get on the Switch, the more Switches will sell. But you're right. In fact, all Nintendo games are exclusive to Nintendo. They never go cross-platform.
Yeah. When's the last time you saw like a Mario PC release? It just doesn't happen.
Yeah,
it doesn't exist.
You won't.
No, but Nintendo's also been at the bottom of the barrel. I mean,
yeah, I mean that's
as great as it is, it's still always been behind in sales compared to Xbox, and Microsoft, and Sony. And
yeah, I think a lot of that is to do with, like we said before, like these games don't have microtransactions in them, and they don't have season passes very often. They don't have lots of DLC and stuff like that, which, as much as I hate them and I hate to admit it, is making a lot of money for the gaming industry, and it's why they keep doing it more and more. It's why we saw every game ever for a couple of years have loot boxes in them, because they made so much money, But guys, it's coming up to like nearly 2 hours, so I'm going to start wrapping up. Taylor's getting tired. You can see she's like,
no, I'm not.
She's like, God, how long does he talk?
Taylor's
for?
Bored now.
How long does he talk for?
Why do you speak for me?
No, I'm joking. Calm down. I'm joking. Calm down, woman. Oh my God, that's it. My channel is now dead. I made it. God damn it. But Taylor, where can people find you? What are you up to on your channel coming up?
I'm on twitch.tv/thetarkic, and I am on Instagram, which is thetarkic.tv. And that's
you launched an Instagram for the podcast as well, didn't you?
I did. So it's GG Weekend Podcast, and I'll post updates of who we're featuring on our podcast every week, where you can find our podcast and when it's up, and just stuff that's happening throughout the week.
Which is really great, because I am crap with Instagram and I know nothing about it. So I'm glad that you're running that. I, of course, will leave them links down in the descriptions below. But Toddy, where can we find you?
I'm on Twitch. Twitch.tv/Toddyson13. I'm also on Twitter at Toddyson13, and you can find me in one of 30 or 35 Discord servers all around.
Oh God, the
is
Discord
that true for all of us, though?
so true. What have you got coming up in the channel? Have you got any plans, Toddy? I know you're a busy man, but do you have any plans coming up for your channel? Anything interesting?
Nothing right now. I'm just kind of waiting for games to come out. Mario Maker 2 is going to be pretty big. I think I'm going to dip into that a little bit. Borderlands 3, obviously, I'm going to play a little bit of that. So
nice.
Mix and mash until some more games come out.
Perfect. Elliot, what about yourself? Where can people find you, and what have you got coming up on your channels?
I'm at twitch.tv/blindside UK. I'm also on Twitter at blindside_UK. I'm going to keep playing Bloodborne until I die. I can't stop. And when I finish Bloodborne, I already know. I keep telling myself I'm not going to buy Sekiro, but I'm going to buy Sekiro. It's going to happen. So I'm not a variety streamer anymore. Screw it. I'm a From Software streamer now. If From Software want to contact me about this at any time, about free copies of Sekiro, they're welcome to do so. So I'm just going to be doing that for a while.
Just one for everyone on the podcast, please.
Yeah. If we can just have 4 copies, 5, I'll do a giveaway. We'll work
Everyone loves a giveaway. But thank you very much for joining me, guys. I am the Grumpy Brit. If you have found this video, you've already found my YouTube channel. I do all sorts of things. I'm trying to figure out what I really want to do with my YouTube. We're going to be doing this podcast every week, every Saturday. So if you're watching this, it should be a Saturday. I also do things like, I occasionally do news videos. I do things like Dead by Daylight videos. I do discussion videos. I do silly videos where I make my mum eat Bean Boozled, things like that. So if you want to watch some of those, there'll be links and end cards and stuff. But I also stream on Twitch on Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays at twitch.tv/thegrumpybrit. And we're doing Stardew Sundays recently, which has been pretty fun. Stardew Sundays will be so tomorrow I'll be playing Stardew Valley. I'm not very good at it, but that's fine. We plant crops and make money and have fun. It's great. Sundays are a nice chilled out day. But as always, I will leave links to everything. All of these guys, if you have liked any of my guests or co-hosts today, I will leave links to where you can find them down below. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. If you have made it to the end of this video and you've watched all the way through, I don't know what to tell you. I need to give you a medal or something. Congratulations.
Don't say you're going to give him a medal.
Oh,
Can you imagine,
okay.
imagine just
Metaphoric
takes
medal.
off?
Metaphoric medal. But
Comment
no.
below and we'll reply with your medal.
We should do that. Should we do that? If you have watched this video all the way through and you're still here, comment in the comments below with a word. I don't know.
Just comment with "Where's my medal?"
Where's my medal? Perfect.
Yeah,
there we go.
comment with, "Where's my
Blindside.
medal?"
That's more creativity than me.
YouTube.com.
Where's my medal? Post
I
in the
made it
comments
through
below.
the whole thing. I want my medal.
Seriously, it's nearly 2 hours long. Congratulations, you've got more stamina than I have. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. I will see you next week with the third episode of the GG Weekend podcast. We'll be doing, I don't know who the guest is yet, so I can't really announce it. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!
Bye, guys.
Bye.